Alright, so one common trait across various team-based fighting games is that they tend to have a lot of defensive mechanics, and 2XAO is no exception to that. It kind of makes sense, right? With multiple characters on the screen, you had to need help to be able to fight back effectively. And I saw that Sajam already uploaded a video talking about how to use the defensive mechanics in this game, which was very helpful. But today, I actually want to take a look at the opposite end of that topic, and I want to focus on how to beat the defensive mechanics in this game. One of the most frustrating things when you're learning a new fighting game is just not knowing how to deal with the defensive mechanics. You know, you finally hit your opponent, but then you have no idea how to actually run offense on them. How do you get the opponent to respect you? How do you beat all the defensive options they have access to? Those are the things I want to talk about today. So I'm going to talk about how to address all of the main defensive mechanics that the defender will try to use. And we're going to talk about this in a way that regardless of what team you're playing, you'll be able to take some ideas from here and apply it with your team. Most importantly, we should probably talk about the rolls first. So when you get knocked down in this game, at least for most knockdowns, you have the ability to either tech in place or roll backwards or forwards. And this can be really annoying because, you know, you finally get your knockdown on your opponent and you go to run offense on them and they just end up rolling the complete opposite way and you don't get to actually apply pressure. Well, there's actually a few different ways to deal with this option. The easiest and simplest way is when the opponent is in the corner, and this is actually where rolling is the most annoying because you finally get the opponent in the corner and you want to run offense, but they just roll out of the corner right past your character, right? Well, one of the easiest things you can do is after whatever the knockdown is that your character goes for, just back off to the position where even if they forward roll, you're going to be able to keep the opponent's back to the corner. And if they choose to not back roll, if they just maybe, you know, tech in place or they back roll or something, then what you'll be able to do is back off, see that they teched in place or back rolled, and then just dash up and apply pressure like you would normally. This obviously only really applies to the corner, but this is the simplest and easiest way to cover this option. But that doesn't mean it's the best option. One very effective strategy you can do to chase these rolls effectively is if you just simply time a dash input just as the opponent is getting up, your character will actually autocorrect regardless of what direction the opponent is rolling in. So there we chased back rise very effectively, and here we're going to chase forward rise pretty much the same way. See how even though Yasuo rolled through us, Echo turned around and ran that way. Your character pretty much turns around immediately when they roll in either direction, so if you just tap the dash button, regardless of what direction they go, your character will chase them. So typically for me, I like to find combo enders where the dash is auto-timed for me, so typically the way I would end an Echo combo is something like this. With the special move, and then if they roll, the dash input is just auto-timed for me, to where as soon as I'm done whiffing the move and I press my dash macro, the opponent will be rolling, and then it will automatically chase whichever direction they go in. That's not all that you can do. Obviously, that's still useful for just making sure that you get to pressure the opponent. The other downside to rolls is that they are actually throwable, as you just saw me do at the end. So, you know, when you get your combo ender, you can also chase the roll and also throw it for a direct punish. You can throw it pretty much at any point in the animation. And something I really recommend practicing is getting your combo ender, especially in the corner, and finding some type of, you know, timing or setup or whatever that times the dash input for you, and then set the training dummy to do random ground tech options. So you set them to the random setting, and then what you're going to do is you're just going to simply practice reacting to whether the opponent rolls or not. So in that case, it didn't roll. I just pressed a standing light to meaty them. And if they do roll, you want to practice actually throwing it just like that. This takes a bit of practice and it is hard to do. So, you know, if you're just starting out with the game, work on the simplest things. But this is definitely something that's really worth practicing. I still practice it pretty much every day, to be honest, because it is very effective at making sure you get to still apply pressure on the opponent and directly punish them if they go for a roll. Because of this, I also recommend finding ways for your team to be able to combo off of a throw. A lot of assists or tags allow you to combo. So in the case of like Ari, for example, if I throw the opponent, I can just easily tag into Echo and get a combo like this. So a lot of teams have different ways to combo off your throw, and I definitely recommend learning how to do that after practicing this strategy. The next offensive option I want to talk about is the get up attack. So this game has a universal wake up attack that every character has access to. It's invincible on wake up, it's incredibly fast, but you can only do it on wake up, and specifically you can only do it on neutral wake up. If the opponent back rolls or forward rolls, they don't have access to this attack. But this can be something that you're going to have to either manually hard bait, but there are also a couple of general strategies that allow you to cover it without directly hard baiting. So first of all, one thing that's really nice to know is if you have any type of disjointed attack, like an attack that doesn't have a hurt box, so in this case Ari has her fireballs, you can meaty the opponent safely with something like that. I know like Darius, he has very big buttons that he can use, so he can outspace get up attack as well. There's a couple of different things you can do to beat this action. But another option that is very nice is just using your assist to melee the opponent for you. So in this case, something I can do is I can do like a neutral jump where I jump forward and call Echo, and the assist will melee the opponent for me. So if they do a get up attack, I'm just gonna be able to block it, and Echo will get hit, but that doesn't really matter. And if they decide to wake up and block instead, then your assist will force them to block, and you'll be able to apply pressure afterwards. I wouldn't do this all the time, but it is a nice way to kind of hedge your bets and ensure that you're able to melee the opponent without having to hard guess on the get up attack every single time. And then another invincible option I want to talk about too is every character has their invincible level 3s. So these are all fully invincible, and these can be very annoying to bait, and they do a lot of damage if you get hit by them. But there is actually one thing you can do to ensure that you can counter them 100% of the time without just having to hard bait them. Obviously hard baiting can work, but for every level 3 except for I believe Blitzcrank, because his is a 0 after flash command grab, if the opponent does a level 3, you can actually just handshake tag. If I just smash gameplay here, I should be able to get it. You can always handshake tag if your assist character is on the screen when the opponent does a level 3. It doesn't matter what your point character is doing, it doesn't matter if they committed to a move or not. If you have the Euro assist on the screen and you're able to handshake tag to them, you can always, after the super flash, handshake tag and block. Alright, so with the wake up options out of the way, now we need to talk about how you just actually run pressure on somebody. So obviously, you know, in a fighting game like this, the way that most characters are able to hit somebody is with a throw, right? If the opponent's blocking too much, you can just throw them. But the real question when it comes to playing a fighting game is how do you get somebody to sit still so you can actually throw them in the first place, right? This is always one of the most difficult things when it comes to playing a fighting game when you're newer. It's how do you actually frame trap the opponent? How do you stop them from just smashing and jumping and doing all those types of things? A big thing about trying to throw the opponent is that throws don't beat the opponent for mashing or jumping, right? So if I try to go for a throw here, he also is going to be able to do a reversal 5L and stop us from throwing him. So naturally the way you beat this would be frame traps. And one thing I want to mention that I've seen a lot of new players not really understand about these types of games is that you need to make sure your block string actually has frame traps in it. So a very basic thing that pretty much every character will do is they'll just do like a chain series of doing something like a light, medium, heavy, just like this. And something you have to realize is that for most characters, this type of string is going to be gapless. Meaning if the opponent is set to do a reversal option of some sort, it's not going to actually come out because you're keeping the string tight. So a big thing you want to keep in mind is that if you actually want to frame trap the opponent, you want to delay your string slightly. So here I'm doing 5L delay to M. Normally this would not have a gap in it, but you want to make sure you're actually delaying your strings. That way if the opponent is trying to do something like mash or jump out of your pressure or whatever, they will actually properly get punished for it by you leaving those gaps in your offense. So if you're trying to beat the opponent mashing immediately out of lock stun, usually you do those like type of delayed strings where it's like 5L, delay 2M, delay 5H. But if you're trying to call out more delayed mashing options, this is where you're going to have to start going for more staggered strings. So if you ever see someone doing something like a 5L, 5L, dash up 5L, stuff like this, where they're doing these like really prolonged block strings, it's because they're trying to hit the opponent doing a very delayed defensive option. So just keep those things in mind when you're running your offense. If you feel like people are mashing too much or jumping too much, you probably need to do one of these two things. When it comes to people jumping defensively, this is a very common defensive tactic people use in this game because jump is actually your fastest defensive action. One thing you can do is keep in mind you don't always have to directly hit them for jumping before they leave the ground, right? If I do something like a 5L delay 2M like this, yeah, Yasuo will get hit for trying to jump, but you don't always have to beat jump that way. Another thing you can do is just simply wait on the ground and react to whether the opponent jumps. If they do this, you can just kind of jump up and air to air them, force them back down to the ground. Or if you're really locked in, you can even just go for an air throw as a direct punish to this. So this is just another way to deal with people jumping. Sometimes it's okay to let them leave the ground and then take advantage after they jump because you can do that on reaction. You don't have to hard commit to try to call off the option directly. Now, the next offensive mechanic that I want to talk about is going to be retreating guard. This mechanic can be very annoying, especially when you're just first starting out this game, because it feels like the opponent is just getting away from you all the time, right? How do you stick to the opponent effectively in this game? Well, there are 3 ways that you can kind of take advantage of the opponent trying to retreating guard. First of all, it will just lose the throws. So if you throw the opponent at some point, it will punish them for trying to do retreating guard. And on top of this, if you do a low hitting attack, that will hit them for retreating guard. So doing something like this into a crouching medium, that will directly punish their retreating guard. But another thing you want to keep in mind is that this is a team game. You have your own assists to help you out with these matters. So usually when people are retreating guarding, they're going to look to try to whiff punish you, right? So if you are doing like a block string and they retreating guard and it causes like one of your buttons to whiff, very often people will try to get this to happen and then whiff punish you. Well, if you notice the opponent is using a lot of retreating guard, you can actually just kind of cover it by calling your assist. If the opponent retreating guards see that you whiffed and then they try to whiff punish you, they're just going to run into your assist, so you get to punish them. But even if they don't, in this case of, having like Ari chase them down for me, I can just swap to Ari and then continue to apply pressure if my opponent is retreating guarding. And why this is very important is the opponent only has so much screen space that they can retreating guard with, right? Eventually they're going to put themselves into the corner for you, and once they're in the corner, retreating guard doesn't do anything. So using your assist to help kind of cover either yourself whiffing or to chase the opponent and kind of punish them for putting themselves in the corner, both are very effective. You need to make sure when you're looking at this mechanic and the next one we're going to talk about that you have assists to help you pressure the opponent. Everyone always thinks about their assist as a way to, confirm a mix-up. So like if you want to go for an overhead, go for an overhead, call your assist, whatever. Maybe go for like a cross-up, call your assist. Those are all very effective, right? But you can also use your assist to help you cover defensive mechanics. The next one I want to talk about is Pushblock. So this is a team mechanic. This actually requires the opponent to have their assist be available. And do keep in mind that if they do use their assist for this, it also puts their assist on a 4-second cooldown, which is actually pretty lengthy. So sometimes it's not really the end of the world if they push block you, so just keep that in mind. So like I was just mentioning, one way that you can kind of cover this type of mechanic is once again using your own assist. So if I think my opponent is going to use a push block, or maybe if I can react to it, what I'll try to do is I'll try to call my Ari assist, in the case of the team that I play, to then take advantage of my opponent pushing me away. This will sometimes catch people off guard. In this case, we're fighting a training dummy, so they're blocking afterwards. But a lot of people, after they push block, they try to do something. So if you call your own assist to help cover your whiff, sometimes they'll end up getting hit by this. And what this actually results in is a happy birthday, because you're going to end up hitting both characters as they're both on the screen. And even if you don't hit the point character, one thing that's nice about doing something like this is that, like in this case, if I like call Echo or whatever, when I'm doing my block string, I actually get to hit the other character, even though the point character is blocking. So obviously you get to maintain pressure on the point character, which is good, but you also just get free damage on the character that came in to push block you. Another very important detail when it comes to push blocking is push block works on whatever character actually made contact with them last. So for example, if I do my Ari assist here and they do push block, Echo doesn't actually move at all. They pushed Ari away from me. The same goes for if I call Ari and then hit them with Echo. What's going to happen is they'll push Echo away, but Ari will actually still stay there doing her assist. So you can actually kind of take advantage of the opponent push blocking you by making them push block your assist and not your point character. This is really important when it comes to handshake tagging as well. So if I do something like call Echo and then do Ari S2 and then handshake tag, they're going to push Ari away, who is currently not actually the character that I'm controlling anymore, right? I'm controlling Echo, but because the last attack they blocked is the now assist character Ari, this is another way you can kind of punish the opponent for push blocking mindlessly. The other thing about push block, however, is there are a lot of things that are actually really hard to push block on reaction. So in the case of a training dummy, right, if I have them set to push block, they're just going to be able to push block like a jab effectively, right, because it's a training mode dummy. But when you're actually playing matches, it can be really difficult to properly confirm that you have blocked a jab and then push block it. So one thing you can do is if you're really good at staggering your strings, you can actually kind of call out the opponent for doing a lazy autopilot push block. So in this case, I have Gospel set to do 5L, dash up 5L. And if I try to push block, generally speaking, obviously it's a recording, so I'll probably get it. But in actual matches, a lot of the time people will be late and that will happen. Instead of getting a push block, their assist character will just come into the screen, you won't get pushed away, and their assist character is going to get hit. So this is bad on two fronts because, obviously they didn't push you away. They can't push you away anymore because their assist character is on the screen, and their assist character is getting hit, which I guess is three things, but whatever. Basically, what I'm getting at is having a bunch of weird timings to your offense is really effective at calling out autopilot push blocks and can really blow up the opponent if they're not looking out. And then the last thing I want to talk about in regards to push blocking is that there are just some moves that actually lock out the opponent from being able to push block or retreating guard. So in this case, charge 5Hs, so doing something like this. The opponent is set to push block right now, but they just can't on this type of move. It's not just charged 5Hs. So in the case of like Vi, for example, so the opponent is still set to push block. If you do something like her S2, notice how they can't push block until the very last hit of this attack. So not every character has a move like this, but there are a couple of characters and a couple of moves that you just lock out the opponent from using push block. So it's worth it to experiment with your characters. There are also some moves that even if the opponent push blocks them, they end up hitting the opponent anyways. So definitely make sure to check all of your block strings and the moves that your characters have to see how effective they are at either not letting them push block in the first place, or even if they do push block, it will cover them when they do. I think that's it for the main details when it comes to dealing with the defensive options in 2xAO. There are, of course, a lot of defensive mechanics going on in this game, and there's a lot of different ways to go with them. But hopefully after watching this video, you have some of the general ideas that you can now go and think about how to apply it with your team. Of course, if you have any more questions about defensive mechanics in 2xAO, or if there's any other topics for this game that you'd like to see me make a video on, do let me know down in the comments below. I really do want to help people learn how to play this game, and just in general, I really want to talk about this game because I like it a lot. So whatever types of videos you want to see, let me know. In any case, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.